Title: A single mom pays $50 to hire a fake boyfriend for Christmas, unaware he is a rich man. The night Emma Carter decided to hire a fake boyfriend, snow was falling in soft, tired flakes, like even the sky was exhausted. She stood outside a small grocery store, counting crumpled bills in her gloved hands while her 5-year-old son, Leo, tugged at her coat and asked if Santa would know where they lived this year. That question hit her harder than the cold. Emma smiled anyway, because that's what single moms learn to do. Smile first, worry later. But inside her chest, a question echoed louder than Leo's. How am I going to survive this Christmas without breaking his heart? Emma lived in a modest apartment above a closed-down bakery. The smell of old sugar and yeast still lingered in the stairwell, like a memory that refused to leave. It wasn't much, but it was home. Since Leo's father walked out 3 years ago, Emma had been everything at once: mother, father, provider, protector. She worked mornings at a diner and cleaned offices at night. Christmas was supposed to be magical, but lately it felt like a spotlight on everything she couldn't give her son. No big tree, no pile of presents, and definitely no happy family dinner with grandparents who constantly asked uncomfortable questions. Her parents lived 2 towns over and believed, with painful certainty, that Emma's life would have been better if she had tried harder to keep her marriage together. Every Christmas, they asked the same thing, like a tradition carved in stone. So, are you seeing anyone yet? This year, they had gone a step further and insisted she bring someone. For Leo, her mother had said, he needs a male role model. Emma had nodded on the phone, biting her lip so hard it almost bled. That's how she found the ad. It was pinned to a community board at the diner, half hidden under flyers for guitar lessons and dog walking. Professional companion services, events, family gatherings, no judgment. At the bottom was a phone number and, written in pen, holiday discounts available. Emma stared at it longer than she meant to. She laughed quietly at first. Then she stopped laughing, because the idea didn't leave. It sat with her all day, through spilled coffee and rude customers. By the time her shift ended, the idea had grown roots. She called that night, heart pounding like she was about to confess a crime. The man who answered sounded calm, warm, not pushy. His name was Daniel. He explained the rules clearly. Time limited, no physical expectations beyond what she was comfortable with. Just acting, just presence. When she asked how much, there was a pause. For Christmas Eve dinner and Christmas Day morning. He asked, $50. Emma almost dropped the phone. Are you serious? I am, he said simply. She didn't ask why. She didn't think she had the right. She just agreed, gave him the address, and hung up, feeling both ridiculous and strangely relieved. Daniel arrived on Christmas Eve wearing a simple wool coat and carrying a small gift bag. He looked normal. That was the first thing Emma noticed. Not flashy, not overly handsome in a movie star way. Just kind eyes, neatly trimmed hair, and a smile that didn't feel practiced. Leo peeked from behind Emma's leg, studying him with the seriousness of a tiny judge. Hey, Daniel said, kneeling slightly to Leo's level. You must be Leo. I've heard you're the bravest kid around. Leo's eyes widened. I am, he said proudly. That was it. Emma felt something loosen in her chest. Just a little. At her parents' house, Daniel played his role perfectly. He laughed at her dad's old jokes, complimented her mom's cooking, and talked about work, in vague but convincing terms. Emma noticed he never lied outright. He dodged questions gently, like someone used to choosing words carefully. When her mother pulled Emma aside and whispered, "He seems nice," Emma almost cried into the cranberry sauce. That night, after Leo fell asleep on a couch surrounded by wrapping paper, Emma and Daniel sat quietly by the window. Snow pressed softly against the glass. You didn't have to bring a gift, Emma said, nodding at the bag he had given Leo. Inside was a small wooden train, beautifully made. I wanted to, Daniel said. Kids deserve something solid, something that lasts. She studied him then. There was something about the way he spoke. Like someone who had seen too much money to be impressed by it, or maybe someone who had grown up without any at all. She couldn't tell. Christmas morning came with laughter. Real laughter. Leo hugged Daniel like he'd known him forever. When it was time for Daniel to leave, Leo asked if he'd come back next year. Daniel smiled, a little sad. "We'll see," he said. After he left, Emma sat on the floor, staring at the door. She told herself it was relief she felt, that the performance was over. But deep down, she knew that wasn't the whole truth. Daniel thought about Emma long after Christmas ended. His real life was nothing like the one he had described. Daniel Reed was the CEO of a fast-growing tech investment firm. He lived in a penthouse, drove a car that cost more than Emma's yearly rent, and had more money than he knew how to spend. But money had never solved the one thing that mattered: loneliness. After his parents died and his last relationship ended in betrayal, Daniel found himself avoiding people. Hiring himself out as a companion had started as a strange experiment. A way to see real lives without expectations. Emma's life had stayed with him. A week later, he showed up at the diner. Emma nearly dropped a plate when she saw him. "Daniel, hi," he said, smiling like he hadn't just turned her world upside down. "I was in the area." They talked, then laughed, then talked more. He started coming by regularly. Sometimes just for coffee, sometimes to help Leo with homework. Emma never asked about his money. Daniel never offered details, but cracks began to show. The expensive watch he forgot to hide. The way he answered business calls in hushed tones outside. The suit he wore once that definitely did not come from a discount rack. The truth came out by accident. Leo had a school fundraiser. Emma couldn't afford the donation. She was embarrassed, trying to explain when the teacher pulled her aside and said, "Don't worry. Mr. Reed already covered it." Emma felt the ground shift. Mr. Reed. Yes, Daniel Reed. Such a generous man. That night, Emma confronted him. Her voice shook. "Who are you really?" Daniel didn't lie. He told her everything. The money, the company, the reason he'd charged only $50. "I didn't do it out of pity," he said quietly. "I did it because I wanted to be there." Emma was angry, hurt. She felt small, like a story someone else had been watching for entertainment. She told him to leave. Weeks passed, then months. Life went back to being hard. But something had changed. Emma had seen what it felt like to be respected, to be supported without conditions. She carried that with her. One spring afternoon, Daniel showed up again. Not with money, not with excuses, with a simple question: "Can I start over?" As just me. Emma looked at Leo, then back at Daniel. She saw honesty, vulnerability, love, maybe. She nodded. They didn't rush. They built something real, slowly, carefully. When Daniel finally introduced Emma to his world, he did it gently. When he proposed, it wasn't with a ring that screamed wealth. It was with Leo beside him and a promise that sounded like home. Years later, Emma would tell the story and laugh. About the $50. About the fake boyfriend. About the Christmas that changed everything. The moral was simple and true. Sometimes, the help we ask for comes wrapped in something unexpected. And sometimes, the richest gifts have nothing to do with money at all.